Sean Don and I roll up that weed cause I got it going on.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Stoney'S Circle, brought to you by Betting News. Thank you all for being here. Chef, I know that intro is just absolutely electric. Gets me fired up every time. And guys, we've got a special guest in the house. Last week, I went for an hour and a half by myself, hated my own voice by the end of it. I did not want to talk for that long again. So today, we're bringing up a special guest. You guys might know him if you are familiar with Owner's Box. Sandy, yes, that is a Chiefs hockey jersey in the background. It's a hoodie as well. Electric. I wear it to every game I can. But let's go ahead and bring up the special guest, Tyler McKillop. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Not too much. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head for myself as well, that when you're hosting a Twitch show by yourself, I know that Jen does it, and I have to respect him doing that every single day for an hour plus every day. I don't like hearing myself talk that much either. And it's very nice to have someone to break down the games with. So I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you for being here. So again, Tyler works for Owner's Box, a daily fantasy sports company. We actually partnered with them. You can use code Betting News to get a deposit bonus. Let's see, we got it ticking down at the bottom for you. Try out Lightning lineups. They offer a couple more games as well. Again, promo code Betting News over at Owner's Box to get yourself some extra coin to play with. Tyler, I don't know about you, but my bracket is completely busted. Who would have called Princeton? Thankfully, I didn't have Arizona making it too far, but my Kansas Jayhawks didn't make it to the second weekend. I'm ready to start over. I'm ready to start fresh. What about you?
Let me tell you, the high that I felt when I think I was screaming on our stream because we were streaming for the Thursday there, of the high of having Furman winning in my bracket and being like, yo, I'm 3-0. I had Maryland. I had Furman. I can't remember who the third game was. I think that one was like a freebie. But then obviously I didn't believe in Arizona, but I definitely didn't expect them to lose that game. So bracket is busted for sure. Kentucky was in my Final Four. That's the big one. The other three teams are still alive, but Kentucky was in my Final Four.
Okay, I lost mine from that region too. I actually had Duke making it out of the East. So yeah, we are screwed there. All three of my other Final Four teams still alive. But let's get into these Sweet 16 matchups, starting with the games on Thursday. First game, we have Michigan State, the 7 seed, taking on K-State, the 3 seed. It looks like Sparty is about a 1.5 point favorite on FanDuel. It has come down, I believe, and the total sits at about 137.5. Michigan State, they beat number 10 USC and number 2 Marquette to get here. K-State, they knocked off number 14 Montana State, and then number 6 Kentucky, big Oscar Tshiebwe, to make it to the second weekend. Right hand up, I have faded Kansas State in both of their games. I had Montana State plus 8.5. I took Kentucky money line live when it was plus 102, and they burned me both times. I am a Kansas guy. I'm a Jayhawk. I do have some ties to Kansas State. I'm wearing a Wildcat shirt, and I will be fading Kansas State again. I will be taking Tom Izzo in March on the money line. I think it's at minus 122 on FanDuel. I'm sure there's a group of fraternity boys in Manhattan that loves hearing me say that, since I'm 0 for 2 fading their cats. Shout out to the dudes in Manhattan. But man, I like Tom Izzo in March. I think this Sparty team is playing well. And I think K-State, I think their magic kind of runs out.
Yeah, if you're not watching Marquise Noel and the Wildcats like throughout the dance so far, you just probably aren't watching at all, because they've been a ton of fun to watch. I had them losing to Montana State in the opening round.
Yep, me as well.
I think Kentucky definitely should have moved on. All they needed was like mediocre play from their guards as opposed to 0 for 15 from the field.
Right.
From thou shall not be named, because I'm sure he's heard it enough on social media from Kentucky fans. I honestly I could go either way with this game. I think Michigan State is probably, if I had to pick a side, I'd lean on. What I like is the only play I have in this game is a player prop. So AJ Hoggard over 12.5 points. So the thing with Kansas State is they're a really aggressive defense that forces a lot of turnovers, but can put themselves at a position defensively. Michigan State doesn't take a lot of threes, but Joey Hauser and Tyson Walker have like killed teams from the perimeter. They're like both shooting over 40%. Hauser's like one of the best 3-point shooters in the country, actually. I think he's shooting almost 45%.
Yep.
They're a really good 3-point defense, very aggressive on the perimeter, but are susceptible inside. So Hogarth's a great distributor, an incredible guy as a facilitator. When he was off the floor against Marquette, they really struggled. Marquette made that run because he was in foul trouble. If he stays out of foul trouble, he can facilitate really well, but I also think he'll be able to drive the hoop and score at the rim. It's been a little bit more of a struggle for K-State, and they put teams on the line a fair bit, and Hauser is the leading guy in free throw attempts per game for the Sparty. So I love Hoggard. He's been a fantastic leader for this team throughout the year. So I lean Michigan State, but I don't have a side. I like more of the player prop side with Hoggard.
Fair enough. Yeah, you touched on Michigan State's 3-point shooting. They don't shoot a lot, but they do shoot them well. Shoot almost 40% as a team from deep, ranking 3rd in the nation. They did only shoot 2 of 16 against Marquette last game. And they normally shoot 40%, so there's got to be a little bit of progression there. They gotta bump up those numbers a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, both lean in with Michigan State there. I am on Michigan State. I have locked that in -122 on the money line, fading the Kansas State Wildcats. Next up, we have number 8 Arkansas versus number 4 UConn. UConn is a 4.5-point favorite with the total sitting at 139.5. Tyler, what do you like in this one?
Yeah, I feel like I'm put this morning, and I like Arkansas. I got a really nice ticket on them to win the whole thing at 75-1 that I put in when they were really struggling in SEC play. But I have tickets on both of these teams to win it all. Actually, I have UConn at 40-1. So I'm going to lose one of them, which sucks. This UConn team to me is really inconsistent. I know they closed out the season relatively well, but I found that in some of these games, especially the Marquette game from the Big East tourney, they felt really flat in. Like Jordan Hawkins hasn't been very good for them. He completely disappeared in the game against was it Iona? Yeah, Iona. He didn't score in the first half. He didn't have a single point. Arkansas is a very good defense, very physical, and they get to the free throw line a ton. Ricky Council, specifically, Devo Davis was incredible in the game to get them past Kansas. I like Arkansas because they can get to the free throw line, and that's been a huge deficiency for UConn defensively. But man, these are two elite defenses from the field. Like they're both, if I'm looking at numbers here, UConn's top 20 both in offensive or both in 3-point and 2-point defense. Arkansas's top 25 in 3-point defense and top 50 in 2-point defense. So this is a game that's very tough to call, and I'll go with the better coach. And honestly, a deeper roster. Like I don't like that Hurley likes to get into his rotations with some of these guys off the bench, like Klingon, and there's one other kid, other guard, Aline, that are really inefficient offensively, and he trusts them way too much. Like Sonogo comes off the floor far too often. If they take advantage of that with the deep bench, I like them to cover. I don't necessarily think they win, but I think they can cover.
I'll lean with you. I definitely like the Hogs plus the points here for all the points you made. Eric Musselman has this team fired up. Great defense. They can really pressure the UConn guards. I definitely lean with the Hogs here as well. I like to think they could win outright, but definitely not going to go anywhere near placing that. If I would place something, it would definitely be plus the 4.5 here.
Yeah. I also took Council over 15.5. He's their guy getting to the line. And like I said, that's the biggest deficiency. I had him to go over in the match against Kansas. He narrowly did. Devo Davis took over that game, but Council I think this matchup suits him really well. So I took his points over as well. I've locked in with this kind of runway that we have, Stoney, of like 4 days of no college hoops. I just stared at player props for the last 2 days. And then I looked back at my slip this morning. I'm like, shit, I already bet that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. We'll see what happens, I guess.
So you got to ride now, man.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. In the East, the other game, we have Florida Atlantic versus number 4 Tennessee. FAU, they beat number 8 Memphis by 1, and then the Cinderella Farley Dickinson by 8. Tennessee, they beat Louisiana by 3, and then the Duke Blue Devils by 13. This is a really tough one. Tennessee's favored by about 4.5 points is what I'm seeing on FanDuel, with the total at 130.5. FAU, a team that can just light it up from 3, and they shoot the ball from 3 often. Looks like they're 15th in 3-point attempts per game and 19th in 3-point field goal percentage, shooting nearly 38%. In these 2 earlier games, they only shot 28 and 29% from 3, so we could see a little uptick there. However, the Volunteers are arguably one of the best defenses in the country. They're actually first in opponent field goal percentage and 3-point percentage. Opponents shoot almost 25% from 3 against the Vols. I think I like the under in this game, mainly because of Tennessee's defense, and neither of these teams foul very often or really get to the free throw line. Obviously, Florida Atlantic can, shoot the ball well from deep at will. I think Tennessee's defense is playing a little too good. As far as the side goes, I'd lean with the Volunteers on the money line. The points, that 4.5 gets real shady for me. So I'd probably just stick with the under here if I had to bet it. What about you?
Yeah, this is the toughest game for me to be able to handicap, because I don't like how far did you have Tennessee getting in your bracket?
I had them losing to Duke. I had them winning and then losing to the Blue Devils.
Okay, so that was in in that second round matchup. Right, right. Okay. Yeah, I had Tennessee losing to Oral Roberts, actually. I think a lot of people don't believe much in this Tennessee team, and it's hard to, because their offense is very boring and very inefficient, especially losing Sakai Ziegler.
Yep.
But again, you have a really good SEC defense against a CUSA team that's obviously run through the conference and looked terrific doing so, beat a good Memphis team. Probably should have put away Fairleigh Dickinson a fair bit earlier in that game.
Right.
I'm the same as you. I didn't even think about the under. That's probably not a bad play, because Tennessee's pretty slow too. And like we said, the offense for them isn't good. And FAU's defense has been really good against the 3. For anyone that likes to bet player props solely, or with a lot of their information and lean upon is on previous data. Santiago Vescovi has gone over his points. It's 12.5 in 8 of his last 10. And one of the games he went under, he got into foul trouble as soon as I bet him over, of course, and he got into foul trouble within 10 minutes and had 2 fouls and sat out for, I think he only played maybe in a college game's 40 minutes. I think he played 25 minutes, which is nowhere near his numbers. He usually plays 35 plus.
Right. He
could have some success. That's the biggest weakness of FAU's defense. That's still really good. The one play I did already lock in is the big man for FAU, Vladislav Golden, under 6.5 rebounds. He plays 20 minutes a game. He does not play a significant amount of games or amount of minutes on a game-to-game basis, gets into foul trouble, and he has a much more difficult matchup with that. I'm sure you were watching, because you said you had Duke moving on. That Plavsic dude from the Vols just beats people up on the floor.
Seriously.
So he'll be very physical there and be more competitive. Golden's a 7-footer for FAU. His rebounds are at 6.5. He doesn't play a lot of minutes. The Vols are a really good rebounding team. I'm taking his under. He's gone under, and I think it's 4 of his last 5. So under 6.5. It's tough to take a 7-footer under.
I was going to say on rebounds, man. That's tough.
Yeah. But again, slow pace too. So like you said, this game will be slow. That'll lend itself to it. And he runs into foul trouble pretty much every game they play in.
All right. I like it. All right. Moving right along to the last game on Thursday. Probably might be the best Sweet 16 matchup. Number 3 Gonzaga versus number 2 UCLA. The Bruins barely sitting at a 1.5-point favorite. It was actually at 2.5 earlier today. It's now down to 1.5. Total sitting at 145.5. Zags the number 1 offense. UCLA the number 1 defense. This is going to be a great matchup. Tyler, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I like UCLA. I saw the line move this morning, and I took them on the money line 2 days ago at minus 125. Obviously, the line move makes me raise an eyebrow a little bit, but one big thing I lean on here, how dependent the Gonzaga team is one of the highest usage players in the country, over 30%. And I didn't actually think about this. I just happened to to look at look at Timmy, be like, wow, 30% usage rate. Like, where does he rank amongst the top players in the country in usage rate? He was somewhere around 30, I think. And I actually scrolled down. If you ever use KenPom, you can see this. You go to the usage rate, and they actually come tournament time, they'll highlight everybody that's still playing in the tournament. Of the top 100 players in usage rate, not a single one of them are still playing basketball right now in the NCAA tournament. Teams that rely on one player for such a high percentage of their offensive production struggle to be able to advance in a format like this, where it's win and advance, win and advance. You get one off night from these guys, and you're not going to be able to move on. Like we talk about what's the kid from Detroit Mercy? Why am I blanking on his name right now? Davis. Like, he's the highest usage rate player in the country. If that kid had an off night in the Horizon League tournament, and he was the sole reason they didn't beat Youngstown State in the conference tourney. So there's a ton of guys like the Filipowski on Duke's one of them. There's so many players that are high usage rate that I could give you examples of. So this is a really good UCLA defense, as good as Timmy is, as good as Julian Strother are. Tiger Campbell and Jaime Jaquez are right there with them. I'm going to take the team that's got a great defense and a team that doesn't rely on one guy for the entirety of their offense. And it's not like, Gonzaga defensively has been pretty porous against them this season. So I like UCLA. Money line, I'm starting to be a little worried. I still like it.
I agree with just about everything you said there, but I am actually on Gonzaga money line. I got it at plus 105 on MGM today. I actually have the Zags winning it all in my one bracket. I filled out 30, but in my one, I have Gonzaga. So I'm going to roll with them at plus money here. You almost talked me off of it, but I already locked it in, so I got to ride with it now. I really like Gonzaga. I think UCLA without Jalen Clark, they haven't really struggled. I think that might come into play against this Gonzaga team, much tougher opponent than they've seen in this tournament without him. So I got Gonzaga. I got to roll with my champion from the beginning at plus money. So we got one. We're going head to head here on Thursday. Looking forward to it. Moving
that
on
one should be
to
the one thing I'm thinking about too of that game was the Drew Singleton thing, where he was you saw that injury, right? Like, I can't believe they're like, he's going to be fine. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right.
They brought a stretcher onto the court. Like,
I was going to say,
going to be helped off. The stretcher was there for him. He was down for long enough.
Right. How fine is he going to be, even if he suits up? He's got to be minutes restricted something. He's not going to be 100%, obviously. So I think that hurts him as well.
If he does play, he's their best 3-point shooter by like a mile. Like, they don't take any threes. Jaquez, Campbell, like, there's not a lot of guys that take any threes. Singleton is their one guy. He shoots like 40%. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know Gonzaga's 3-point defense is like outside the top 250. Yep. If he is not available, I will feel significantly worse about the bet I already placed. But if he is available, I will feel significantly better. So that will be a huge determining factor for me.
Yeah, Gonzaga's opponents, they shoot 35% from deep. Ranking them 238th in the country is what I got. So not very good at defending the 3-point arc. Chef T,
no.
I love having you here. It's all love. It's all fun.
We set the line, right? We set the line. We're only at 1. We're 4
we're
games
only at
in.
1 through 4 games. So we better get a couple more here on the Friday slate. So for Friday, we've got number 5, San Diego State, taking on the number 1 overall seed, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Alabama favored by 7.5 at the moment. Total looking at 137. Bama, scored 96 and 73 in their 2 wins, beating both of their opponents by 20. San Diego State had a little bit of trouble versus Charleston, only beat them by 6, and then kind of beat the brakes off of Furman by 23. 7.5 seems like a lot of points in a Sweet 16 game. Even as fast and as well as Bama's been playing, they shoot it well from deep. They shoot it often from deep. Nate Oates is kind of a three or a layup guy. So they shoot a ton of free throws as well. I think San Diego State's defense could corral them. And again, 7.5 just seems like a lot. I think the Aztecs could maybe control the pace of this game. I don't think I'm going to bet it, but I'd probably lean with San Diego State plus the 7.5 here.
Yeah, I love this San Diego State team. They're another team I have a ticket on. I had a plus 8,000 to win it all. They're kind of I don't want to say the word wagon. I hate saying my little wagon, but they treated me so well in covering the first round.
Yeah.
I thank them so much for that. And then I bet him again against Furman. And the thing that they could do so well is it doesn't matter the opponent. They defend the three so well. They make life miserable for opponents on the perimeter. Now, how healthy is Brandon Miller? I know we like that's been the storyline the last week or so is he's not 100%. 7.5, I definitely agree. I think it's a lot of points. That is the only play I'm considering this game is San Diego State. The thing is, though, if you try to play slow against Alabama, they can run you out of the building before they're 10 minutes up in the first half. Like, you do not want to be that team that tries to control pace against them because they'll kind of run you out of it. So the offense for San Diego State is the problem. Like, this is such a good Bama defense. Can they be more efficient? Are they going to be efficient enough inside to be able to get things done? Like, I love Matt Bradley. I haven't seen enough from guys like Darian Trammell. I think he's been really underwhelming. Lamont Butler, you've been around and been to these tourneys and fallen short so often. And he's not shown up yet in this tournament either. Those will be two big guys for me that need to be better offensively if they're going to have any chance of keeping up. I would have looked at the under. If Bama's playing, though, I need it in the 140s to consider it. Like, I don't think I can take it at 137.5, but I think SDSU is where I'd lean.
Those were my thoughts exactly with the total. I lean with the total, but yeah, with the way Bama can score at will, 137, no way, not touching that one. All right, moving on to our next 1 versus 5 matchup. We've got Miami versus Houston. Houston, another 7.5 point favorite. Total is up just 1 point, 138.5. Houston did not cover against Northern Kentucky, only beat them by 11, but then they blew out Auburn. Miami, they beat Drake by 7 and then kind of beat the brakes off of Indiana, which I don't know if you expected. I certainly did not. I actually had Miami losing in the first round of Drake. What do you like in this one? How do you break this down?
Yeah, I wish I didn't bet on Indiana to beat Miami on Sunday. I hate that team. They're so soft. Miami really bounced back in a big way too. Like they're a team that's you saw them be so inefficient against Drake, and I said it to myself, and I should have just stayed away from that game. That there's no way they could be that inefficient a second game in a row. This is the one, maybe the most efficient offense in the country, and there's so many great contributors they have. Like Norchad Omier is an undersized 5 or big man for them, but he rebounds like an absolute bat out of hell. Like for a guy that stands at like 6'7", he competes like he's 7 feet. I don't know what to do in this game. The one thing I was looking at, and I feel like I've fallen into the trap a bit, is Miami's interior defense has been a problem for them all year. Opponents are shooting, I think, like 53%, maybe. Very, very poor. That size has been a problem. Only thing I'm looking at here is Jarris Walker, over 11.5 points. He's their big man. He's the guy attacking on the interior. It's a lower number. He's gone over in 4 of his last 5. I think this is a number he can certainly meet. And if you get, like, I guess with Sasser and Shed being hopefully closer to 100% with a little bit of time off, this is a scary Houston team to get in front of considering their defense. But Miami seems to be that team that just says, fuck your defensive numbers. We're just going to be very, very good regardless of who we play efficiency-wise. There's so many dudes. So
absolutely. And, and again, they can just score at will on offense. They shoot 38% from beyond the arc, 10th in the nation in the free throw line and 14th in overall field goal percentage. They're just electric on offense. We'll get to that, Chef. Tmack's actually going to the Raptors game later, so we'll get there. But I lean the plus 7.5. I did hit the Gary Trent ladder the other day. I lean Miami with the 7.5. Again, I think it's too many points in a Sweet 16 matchup with how electric this offense is. Isaiah Wong, Nigel Pack can just light it up from deep. So I like Miami to cover. Total wise, I maybe lean the over, but with how slow Houston can play, I'm probably just going to stay off it and would just lean with Miami plus the points.
Yeah, I don't disagree either. I don't have a lean on, like, the total wise is definitely a similar thing. Like you said, Houston's so slow, which helps for sure. But again, Miami's just so efficient. And then the struggles on the interior, it's like I don't think there's really much of an edge on where the total's set at right now.
Absolutely. All right, 6 games down, 2 to go. We've got number 15, Princeton, going up against number 6. The Creighton Blue Jays are a 9.5 point favorite with the total sitting at 139.5. No one really thought Princeton would be in this position. I don't think. I'm sure Arizona was a very popular pick to win the whole thing, make it to the Final Four, at least get out of the first round. So Princeton surprised everyone. And, Creighton, they should probably be here. I kind of expected them to beat Baylor, assuming they got past NC State. I did have NC State over Creighton, but I did think Creighton would go to the Elite Eight if they won that game. So that's what I'm sticking with. The 9.5 scares me a little bit. Again, that just seems like a lot of points. But both these offenses, they average 25 3-point attempts per game. That puts them both at 46th in the nation. And both these defenses also give up a lot of threes. Over 41% of the shots allowed from both teams are from deep. And they both shoot 35%. So I think this game could just be raining from outside. I actually really like the over. I think at 140.5. I think Creighton plays fast enough that they'll get us there. I'd probably lean over more than Creighton with the points in this one.
Yeah, I think the over is a good call there. My one thing is if, and when you trust the kids, the problem is you can run into a lot of inconsistency. So I bet Ryan Langborg over points in the opening round game against Arizona, and that dude couldn't hit water if it fell out of a boat. And then he gets one day off. He plays the next day against Mizzou, and the guy couldn't miss the net at the bottom of the hoop. Like he could not stop scoring to start the first half. So you run into a Princeton team that got insanely hot in that game against Mizzou. Can they hold up their end of the bargain against Creighton? I think so. This is a team that had such great underlying numbers. And when I talked about this game against Arizona pre-tournament, it was like, their numbers tell me they should match up pretty well. And then they've done it in back-to-back games. Like this is a team that everything they did during the regular season it's just real. Like this is a really good team. But top to bottom, they're defensively, they're great. They've got shooters like Mataloko shooting over 40% from three this year. He's probably a guy I look at player prop wise. I did the thing, and I feel like I've done this to myself a lot, where you get this underdog, pulls out a big win, and then they go to the next round, and you're like, wow, they're like Fairleigh Dickinson, 15.5 point dog to FAU, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's like, holy crap, that's way too many points. And then everybody and their mother bets it, and it still hits. And I took FAU because I'm like, I don't think this is repeatable. Their guard plays way better than Purdue's. I think they'll kill them. And of course, that really public dog that's at double-digit points covered. And Princeton's at 10 at some places. They're going to be a really public side because it's so many points, like you said. I think they might just cover again because Creighton, that's another team I have a future on, and I already considered it dead because they're a team that drives me absolutely up the wall insane because they're very inconsistent. And they showed out against Baylor, and they might not again here.
Good point. All right, so little head-to-head there with Princeton and Creighton on the spread. That brings us to our last game. We have number 3 Xavier taking on number 2 Texas in the Midwest. The Longhorns are a 4.5 point favorite with the total sitting at 148.5. Texas knocked off number 15 Colgate by 20 and then Penn State by 5. Xavier, they beat Kennesaw State just by 5, kind of struggled in that first round, and then beat Pittsburgh by 11 in the second round. I think I like the Longhorns, but the 4.5 number really does scare me. I really like them on the money line. It's minus 182 on FanDuel, so maybe a parlay piece. I actually looked at a Texas-Tennessee money line parlay, plus 118 on FanDuel. Maybe a little enticing to me, I'm not sure. But, Xavier, they give up a lot of turnovers. Texas forces a lot of turnovers. I think this Longhorn defense is going to be a little too much for Xavier. So I lean with the Longhorns to win this one here.
Yeah, last game, and it wouldn't be the last game without us disagreeing a little bit. I did take Xavier. I did take them. I hate them. I'll be honest. I can't stand that team. I think they're fraudulent. They're a little fraudulent. But then as soon as I looked at the numbers in the matchup, I think this Texas team is really soft on the glass. Like Timmy Allen's kind of their one of their go-to guys on the interior rebounding wise. I think Xavier will dominate on the glass with Nunji especially. This is a Texas team. I think they have advantages both on the offensive and defensive side rebounding wise for Xavier. Very efficient from the field. I've already locked it in at 4.5. I don't think they win. I do think they cover. But one of my more plays I would like a little bit better, and one that you'll like is Serge Rice over 13.5 points. Xavier's 3-point defense is terrible, awful. This is like what I said about the kids and their inconsistencies. We saw Serge Rice make every single shot he took in round 1, and then he couldn't make a single shot to save his life when Tyler had the over in Texas and Penn State. When they shot 9 of 41 from 3, he couldn't make a shot.
Of course, Tyler had the over.
Yeah. So I think he bounces back against the terrible 3-point defense, and he goes over his points. I like that better than I like Xavier, but I do have Xavier plus 4.5.
I like that. All right, Serge Rice, it was 13.5, you said?
Yeah, 13
okay.
and a half.
I really like that, actually. I might have to go hop on that right now.
If you just I always check. So Rivers, MGM doesn't usually offer them. Rivers, DraftKings, FanDuel are the 3 places I go to. And sometimes, like, I don't know if are you on Rivers?
Nah, Kansas doesn't have Rivers.
They don't? No. They set bad college lines for player props.
Really?
Like, I've seen 2 points lower than what an over I'm taking. Wow. So if anyone's looking to bet them, definitely look there. They set some bad lines. I think they set who did I have earlier? Oh, Hogard at 12.5, and some books at 13. A lot of the other books at 13.5. So always good to line shop.
Absolutely. Yeah. All these odds we talked about today were on FanDuel, but please line shop. There are probably better lines out there. You can go find them. For example, I got my Gonzaga line better at MGM. It's even money at FanDuel. I got plus 105 at MGM. So please line shop, find the best lines, and have some fun while you're doing it. Tyler, that was 8 games up and 8 games down. We knocked it out in just over a half hour. Sure. And we nailed the line. Disagreeing on 3. We set the line at 2.5. So odds makers did a good job there. Cash the over if you had it. 3 games me and Tyler disagree on. Tyler, again, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Appreciate you being here. Go check out Owner's Box. Go follow Tmack on Twitter. Use code BettingNews at Owner's Box for a little deposit bonus. Check out everything they've got going. Lines at Lunch stream every day. It's so much fun. It's a great time. Tyler, we really appreciate it. Thank you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me. And like I said, I'm glad to have someone else to look at and talk to about these games. So we'll have to do it again.
Absolutely. Much easier than last week doing 90 minutes by myself.
Yeah. Yeah. You're a trooper for 90 minutes. How did you talk like at 32 games?
I did the whole bracket, dude. I filled out the whole bracket. And so I only went into like real detail on like the first 32. And then it was kind of like, okay, Bama over Maryland, just kind of moving on quickly. But yeah,
it's like you guys don't want to hear me do it all over again.
I was going to say, let's just get through these next rounds, pick some winners quick. So, hey, Chef was asking, what's your Raptors lock? You're going to the game. What do you got for us?
Oh, so I was looking. I'm the only way I bet NBA, and I think Chef knows this because I think we talked about it. Is I'll just look at who's out, and then I'll look at like it when that person's out. How does this guy do? I think I'm going to take Freddie over 20.5 points because I think Scotty Barnes is going to play. Then I also saw Gary Trent might not play, so I'm going to take that. I'll take the Raptors -9. My girlfriend actually is a good story because she's coming with me to the game. I got the tickets from my uncle. He's a season ticket holder. Nice. And she called me after lunch. I wonder why she's calling me. And she's like, how much money's in my betting account? Because I made her a FanDuel account when sports betting launched in Ontario. I'm like, like $170. She's like, are the Raptors going to win? I'm like, yeah, like they're playing the worst team one of the worst teams in the NBA. And I don't think Halliburton's up in the air to play. She's like, can you put $50 on the Raptors? I'm like, $50? I mean, sure. You're not going to win very much, but I'll put $50 on the Raptors to win. And she's like, who's going to score some points? I'm like, Freddie. I'm taking Freddie.
She's not squad ride.
Yeah, me and her. Maybe a little TikTok. We'll do of our trip down there, sweating out the bets.
There you go. Absolutely. I should do that with my fiance. Get her in on some content a little bit. She's actually dabbled in the DraftKings a little bit. We got her account set up for the Super Bowl, and we cleaned up on the Chiefs on those free bets. Let me tell you, it was a lot of fun. Nice. But guys, thank you for being here. It's brought to you by Betting News. We will have a show tomorrow called Afternoon Betspresso. We're announcing a giveaway winner, I believe. Tomorrow at Afternoon Betspresso right here on Betting News Twitch at 4:30 Central, 5:30 Eastern. Tyler, thank you for being here. Go check out Owner's Box, all that good stuff. And chat, thank you for being here. This has been a lot of fun, a lot more fun than last week when I talked way too much. So SPJ, why don't you go ahead and roll the video, and that'll be it. Thank you guys for being here.
Sean Don and I roll up